What's up, guys? Just want to do a quick video here on my Kraton 8S build. Had it on the bench here. My receiver, for some reason, had to be rebound. My GT5 kicked it off. It does that now and then on this receiver for some reason. But anyways, just thought I'd do a quick video on this. Yeah, I know there's plenty of Kraton 8S videos, different builds. I mean, there's every kind of aftermarket thing you can buy for this is out there, and it's a pretty good model. I don't run it much. It breaks all the time. But a couple things I did to make it better was I made my own chassis and bracing. Now the original chassis this is the first version. I don't know if they've changed much, but I bought this 2019 when they first came out. It's probably one of the first ones you could actually buy, unless you're a YouTube superstar, at the hobby shop. I had Model Bond up in Boyertown, Model Bond Hobbies. Order this for me, and it came in. And as soon as I got it, I saw this chassis, and before, of course, you saw other videos, guys bending it, and I thought, well, the reason it's bending is this is really soft material. When you can press that kind of I don't know what you call that form into a piece of metal, that metal's got to be very soft, because normally either you'll run out of tonnage on your press, or your metal's going to crack. And for this to bend this way in a press, it has to be really soft. It's almost a right angle there, real sharp in there. So in order to do that, like being a machinist, I'm a machinist. I fix. That's what I do for a living. I fix stuff. I fix everybody's problems. That's what I always do. Every engineering flaw, all that stuff. If you're a machinist, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I fix everybody's problems. So anyways, the problem with this is they use really soft metal. If you can bend it like that, it's too soft. The only way to get aluminum to bend that way and still be strong is you buy a piece of aluminum, anneal it, put your bend in, and then reheat treat it. And Arma's certainly not doing that. But anyways, so they used the wrong chassis material, in my opinion. And instead of just doing all that and buying the die and to make all that, just use better material. You don't need any of that, right? So anyways, what I did is I made my own chassis. My chassis is a little bit thicker, maybe a millimeter thicker, and then I made my own bracing. So that's my setup. So you got brace going from all one piece, going from your shock tower down to your chassis floor, and then that chassis is supported by the same brace as far back as you can go and as far forward as you can go. And then that same brace it connects to your transmission. So I think I got 4 bolts underneath, bolting that to the chassis, heavier chassis, 7071 material, the non-bendable type of aluminum. Well, it's non-bendable. It does break, but it's not as flexy and bendy as that annealed 6061 that they made out of that chassis. So anyways, that's what I did for my bracing, right? Same thing in the front. Got my brace coming off my shock tower, going down, and then down, bolted down to the chassis again, as far forward as I can go, as far rearward as I can go, and then bolted up to the motor mount on this side. And that's super strong. Got my center brace there. That center brace really isn't needed. It's almost more like a handle, but I guess it does help, does support the middle. But that's some 16 millimeter tubing I had laying around, 2 millimeter wall, and I made interfaced my connection there, and epoxied and pinned, captivated the end there so it doesn't smash out like like we were splitting wood, So it's captivated inside that piece there. So I actually grooved that for for the tubing to fit inside there. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, I guess. But yeah, so that's it, right? I got the Mamba Monster 8S. That's a great ESC for this car. It's I guess the bigger ones are better, but I don't know. I've never felt a need. This setup throws this car around like crazy, right? So that's my Rocket 56 113 780 kV, and I use a 1-to-1 gear ratio to the transmission, and it's pretty easy to do these days. But I had to use some limitless spools and take them apart and use the gears for that. But yeah, so I think you can get all that stuff now from Arma. You get the smaller spur, and for that, and then just whatever pinion you can find. If you use the 800 kV or 780 kV, start off around 1-to-1, see what your temps are. I have no problems, and once in a while this might thermal out in some grass, but if you're running on bare dirt, you could run this thing pretty much at will, and then I have the Arma fan on there, and I think there's some other fan options, but at the time there was no mount, so I had to make my own mount. That's an eccentric there, and I also had to make my own motor slider. I don't know if you can see that down in there. Let me put this light on here. Yeah, you see my motor slider there. You couldn't get my first setup, I had the motor pushed all the way up against the tub there, and you ran out of travel on your motor slider. So that was before I went with a 1-to-1. I probably had like 3 setups in this car until I got one that I liked. But the stock setup, very slow. If you're used to the 6S models, you're not going to like it. The ready to run version of this, very slow. The ESC is underpowered. You take that ESC and motor and put it in your Mojave or put it in your Kraton 6S, and you can run it on 6S. And if you want to break everything, you can run it on 8S too. But that ESC is great in the other Arma cars. Not so great in this one. Yeah, so I just run this Mamba Monster 8S, and I think the XLX, I guess, is the one everybody runs these days. The only thing I changed on this is that fan. I put a Rocket fan on there, aluminum fan, and because that one that came with the Castle motor pretty much broke instantly. And some things the Castle does is really ticks me off, right? Just like, you see how short that wire is? What the heck are you going to do with that? So I got to solder another wire on, and then you got to solder here, and then you got your connection. Why not just give you 6 more inches of wire? How much are you paying for this thing? I don't remember. I don't remember how much it was, but give me 6 more inches of wire. Make it cost $1 more. Gee whiz, that drives me crazy when and then their crawler ESCs are the same way. Give you a little piece of wire like that long. Then you got to either take the thing apart and solder another wire to the board, or make some half-baked connection like I did there. Anyways, I digress. So that's my setup there. Good ESC, except for that complaint, and it runs this car really good. And my chassis there, that's again 1 millimeter thicker. I can't remember what that actually comes to. I think it's 5 millimeter. But anyways, you can see it's got some miles on it. I don't run this too much because, like I said, I break everything else on this car. So I run my 6S models a lot more. By the way, when I made this to do this bend here, you can hardly see it. It's kind of radius there. But to get that bend, I had to send this out. Unlike the soft material that Arma made their chassis out of, this stuff is extremely hard to bend. So I have a friend that has a machine shop, and the name of his shop is called Benco, out in Honeybrook, Pennsylvania. And he could make this whole chassis probably in no time flat, but I don't want to bother him with that. So I made my chassis, but I did have him bend it for me, and they did a great job. So he kicked up the front end and bent those chassis so my bulkheads aren't, hanging at an angle. I like, you didn't have to do that, but it does strengthen, stiffen up your chassis a little bit with those bends in it. So anyways, that's it, right? So yeah, I haven't been making too many videos. I had my crawlers out a couple times, just without making videos. I haven't really done anything too special with them. I'm still running my that guy there, 6x6 is pretty awesome. And I'm running that element down there on the right, and I just haven't been able to get that to be satisfactory. But anyways, I know I bought a motorcycle. Yeah, so anyways, I've been learning to ride that. Turned 53 this year. So I figured I'd buy a motorcycle, right? Seemed like the smart thing to do. So learning how to ride, got my motorcycle license, and it's a challenge. If you ever rode dirt bikes when you were like 15, and then you think at 50 you can just hop on a street bike and rip down the road, and you got, it's not going to happen. At least it didn't happen for me. So Pennsylvania has these motorcycle safety classes, safety courses, or safety program, MSP, I think it's called, Motorcycle Safety Program. I took the basic course, got my license. It's free. Like Pennsylvania, I always thought like as a boring state, but yeah, sign a bunch of papers, and they give you a motorcycle to ride. Right, pretty cool. So had great instructors, and it's had some great kids that I rode with there for a couple days and had a great time. So I highly recommend those free courses. They also have intermediate and advanced. When you get a few miles under your belt, go back, learn some more safety tips from your instructors, and learn how to be safe on the road. That's the main thing I want to be is stay away from the pavement, right? So pavement and other cars. So anyways, that's my Kraton 8S and some other babblings that I ramble on about, but hopefully this may give you some ideas, right, to build something of your own. That's what I aim for here. You don't need a machine shop to build your own stuff. You buy some pieces of metal, jigsaw, you could do, you buy an angle grinder is very handy for deburring and even with a cutting blade on it. Something that's really good to have is a bandsaw if you can afford one, cut stuff out of, and then use places like onlinemetals.com. Order up your material. They got pretty much any kind of material you'd ever need for RC cars. Or use Amazon. You get a lot of Kydex from Amazon or eBay. And I can tell you, Kydex, you can make up all kinds of stuff with that. And I have a lot of fun with that, making up RC car parts. And then if you're a high-tech guy, get the 3D printer, right? Those things are pretty awesome too. You got 3D RC out there making stuff for guys. There's people that sell blueprints for parts. You can make up your own parts that way. So yes, it's one thing that makes this hobby a lot of fun is you make your own stuff, right? And there's a lot of aftermarket guys that make stuff for you that are pretty cool too, but I just prefer making stuff myself if I have the time. That's the other thing. Time is, we all have the same amount of time. I never say that, put down somebody else's hobby and say, yeah, I don't have time for that. Because what are you saying? You're saying your time's more important than theirs is, right? So if you don't have time for RC cars, well, maybe you ought to value time a little more better, right? Okay, guys, take care. See ya.